Hello and welcome. Well, we're back for another week here in the Apex Racing League F3 Super Series. I'm Tim Cox with Sam Fitzpatrick and, well, I think it's time to make a little bit of a trip across to sunny California and across the notorious street circuit that is Long Beach. Sam, you know I've been really looking forward to this one for a long time. It's going to be spicy, exciting, drama-filled right from the very start. Please tell me I'm right.
I think you are. We say it every week, but the whole calendar so far this season has been absolutely terrific. And this Long Beach circuit, it's not too long ago that on iRacing we didn't have street circuits. And so I still get that very much excitement whenever we do visit this, or maybe a Bel Air, even Montreal to a certain extent. There's such fantastic circuits to visit a street circuit every now and again, and wow, this will be a proper test for the drivers.
Oh, and Chicago, a circuit that's
exactly.
never used really.
Challenge. That's a challenge.
Oh yes, indeed. And of course, after, well, including tonight, we've got 3 rounds left of the championship. It's definitely hotting up as things have been progressing with, of course, Interlagos and Zolder in a couple of weeks' time to round out the championship. Interlagos, that's going to be a completely different set of circumstances from tonight. Big open track, and then Zolder back to what's that national style circuit, although it is used by DTM quite a bit. 3 different challenges across the next 3 rounds.
Yeah, 3 very different circuits, isn't it? I mean, Long Beach, yeah, the street circuit, Interlagos, the more GP layout, and then, yeah, Zolder, as you say, a much more tight and twisty track. But it's odd this season how I feel like the racing's been quite similar no matter what round we've visited. I mean, we've been to Kota, you know, Okayama, Monza, for example, and yet the racing is always sort of the same. Overtaking is always possible, not super easy, but always possible. We haven't seen it impossible anywhere so far, and that midfield is always very, very tight out there.
But even Zandvoort, which is meant to be impossible to overtake at, they just didn't get the memo, did they? No. And they overtakes left, right, centre, plenty of drama, excitement. It was an absolutely cracking race, so I'm sure tonight's going to be no different whatsoever. But let's just take you through the format for this evening. Of course, we'll be utilising iRacing as always for this series. And then it's a series of heat rounds. Obviously, qualification first off the bat with all the odd-numbered qualification spots going into Heat 1, or the even numbers going into Heat 2. Obviously 2 10-minute heat rounds where drivers then can progress from there, can't they, Sam? Yeah, top 7 get straight through into the A final, and then the rest have to battle out in the B final. B final, as we've learnt this season, it's never simple. Last time out was incredible. Top 4, they were fine for the 14 minutes, and then on the last 3 corners, they managed to, one of the drivers made a mistake, and I think it was Seb Gravland, wasn't it, who made a mistake from P4. Fabio Grissetti being able to get through and into the A final, where he had a very good race, nearly finished in the top 6 if it weren't for a late mistake from himself. So yeah, we say it every week, but A final very important. And I think 2 of the last 3 meetings, Tim, we haven't had any amateur drivers in the A final. We've actually got a couple new amateur drivers for this round of the championship, and so we'll see if any of them can make it through this time. But it's been very tricky recently. I think the drivers those pro drivers in particular, they've got a lot more consistent. They know what they need to do to get into that final stage. Well, talking about consistency, where can we possibly make overtakes? I think we should take a little bit of a look at the track layout here at Long Beach. And, well, the run down to turn 1 is quite a long, well, I say straight, there's a big curve in the middle of it, but that's when it gets interesting, when you get hard onto the anchors, isn't it, Sam, for turn 1? Yeah, and it's one of those circuits where I pretty much ran the entire track. If you've got the inside, you've got control of the corner. I mean, at that point, you can just squeeze your rival out into the wall, and there's very little that they can do in that scenario. And turn 1's a perfect example of that. You see it plenty of times in real life where, yeah, once you got on the inside, if you break a little bit late, well, it's going to be the driver on your outside who's going to lose out in that scenario. Then you've got turn 2 and 3. That's going to be the problem, the pinch points on lap 1. Watch for the drivers to go too wide, most likely through there, but, I mean, we just got to hope that they are courteous enough to one another to survive. Then you've got turn 4 and turn 5, and then in real life, in IndyCar, you see a lot of moves down to turn 6. You don't really see that in the sim racing world too much, but it is a wide entry to that turn 6 and a very wide exit as well, so might see a couple of attempted moves there. And then this is where, for me, it gets interesting. Out of turn 8, really have to pretty much rub against the wall. So the shortest possible path. It's amazing how close you can get it. That run into turn 9, another big braking zone, good overtaking opportunity.
Yeah, it's surprisingly quick is that corner. Okay, a lot of speed and because you're skimming the wall on the outside. And then turn 10, just keeping it patient. And then, well, will we see moves into the turn 11 hairpin? Such a slow speed corner, probably the slowest speed corner we've got on the calendar, I think. And I think it's actually tighter on the sim than it is in real life. I think it's a bit more of a double apex now in real life. But on the sim, it's super tight. Should be a little bit easier for these F3 cars to be able to get around that corner compared to the kind of GT cars that we sometimes see here, or the IMSA sports cars that we've seen in the past tackle this circuit. But yeah, will be a half overtaking opportunity if someone's feeling lucky.
Well, that final turn was the scene of a big, mentioned IMSA, the scene of a big pile-up where they all queued up around the outside and got themselves blocked in, and yeah, it all ended in a bit of tears for Corvette, who were expecting not 1-2 that day, but of course F3, very different scenario, and of course wheel-to-wheel combat, risk of damage, then kabam with the walls. I think it's going to be hit about who's possibly, the drivers who are possibly either running VR and triples are going to be the most successful, and those that keep it the most clean tonight, especially with that final corner that you mentioned where it's almost blind, where you're in a incredibly tight space, just double backing on yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, I imagine the drivers have got decent kind of specs on their systems, but when I found like kind of upgrading to maybe from 50 FPS to 100 FPS, street circuits is the place where you gain the most time there, because you're so close to the wall that those millimeters of accuracy that you can gain really is very useful. So yeah, anything that you can gain when it comes to kind of the simulation is really important when it comes to that stuff. So in the championship, it's changed ground a little bit recently, Tim, hasn't it? Because Tobias Olsson, he seemed to be in control, didn't he? But it's been Isaac Arvidsson who's been in a terrific run of form, 2 consecutive race wins for himself, and with Olsson picking up a pit lane start for tonight, Arvidsson's going to be extending his newfound championship lead.
I don't know about yourself, Sam, but for me, the pivotal moment, I think actually you mentioned it in commentary right at the time, was that moment at Kota where he made the overtaking the final into the penultimate turn to take the victory. And from that moment forward, as you said, he's just been really pushing further and further forward, and it's just been jumbling around even ever since then, and for the rest of the field, and some suffering maybe a little bit more than others. Yeah, and you can see there with the likes of Schnabel and Martinson sort of getting further away. Sandstrom had a good run last time out. We've seen sort of a bit of an odd one with Alcontech, because it's a different Alcontech guy at the top. Sometimes Schnabel, sometimes it's Rasmussen, and then last time out it was Sandstrom. So he was really representing that team extremely well. But Arvidsson just seems so complete. I mean, he's nailing his race starts. All the Sim Race Sweden guys, to be fair, really nailing their race starts, race after race right now. And it's just making them very tricky to beat. And Olsson, if you're going to get a pit lane start, you don't want it to be at Long Beach. He is going to have a tough one tonight to even get through his heat, let alone salvage a race worth something. I mean, honestly, this has got to be his job round, you would think. Olsson starts in from the pit lane in his heat race tonight. Wow. Stranger things have happened, Sam. Let's take a little look across into Pro-Am quickly, where Aaron Smith has just grown into this championship, hasn't he, Sam?
Yeah, he had a terrific round last time out, didn't he, at Nürburgring. I think it was P2 overall. And he was saying how he had a similar pace to Isaac Arvidsson. He won the race. I mean, he was keeping tabs with Arvidsson. I mean, Smith could have scored a lot more points. Grosseto could have scored more points. I mean, or he could have scored a lot less points. Very lucky to get into the A final last time out. And actually should have had a much better result. But in the end, he spun on the last lap, which cost him a few places. And then he got sort of the consistent drivers of Glamstedt and Boberg there in third and fourth. But they're getting a little bit detached now, Tim. I think it's turning into a 2-horse battle, I must say.
Definitely. And let's take a look at standings right now, where it's basically been pretty much Michael Griffin class, hasn't it, all season long? Yeah, on the most part, he's been the fastest driver, it seems. But it's been a bit of an odd one for Griffin. I feel like he's another driver who scored a lot more points. His B finals in particular have been quite poor. It seems to be a bit of a pattern for Michael to get 8th or 9th in the heats,
and then something goes wrong in the V final. Not usually his fault. Cambrali Chani, he's actually scored the most points of any of the amateur drivers in 3 out of 6 rounds we've seen so far this season. But he's also had a few very poor rounds as Cambrali. So if Cambrali can bring out his best game, he could still catch up to Griffin, I think. But I feel like Griffin's deserving some luck. I think this could be a good evening for Michael.
For me, don't discredit Edouard Pop. He's another driver to keep one eye on. Let's take a quick look at the team's championship standings right now. Well, Sim Race Sweden Esports, needs to say, they've been leading the way. I can't see him getting knocked off that top perch. Alcatech second, Crips in third. I mean, realistically, the 3 strongest teams are currently at the top of the championship in their strength order, as they have been all season. Probably what we would have expected to see them as well, Sam.
And there's been a few rounds as well where Simrace Sweden have scored maximum points. So for those who aren't aware, each team has 3 drivers, and the top 2 scoring drivers from each team score points for that round. So and they've done that, I think, 3 times this season out of 6 rounds, where they've won both heats, and then one of them has won the A final as well. So just being absolutely relentless of those guys. So yeah, they're not going to lose that, honestly. But I'd love to see another Okayama. I mean, Okayama was that one round where Alcantech were faster than Simray Sweden. I'd love to see Alcantech bring that pace one more time, at least in these final 3 rounds, to the team who was probably going to win the title.
I'll tell you what, let's find out. We're going to head to a quick break now. We'll see on the other side, where we'll be live trackside for qualifying. Welcome back. Qualifying well underway right now. And as things stand, wow, surprise, surprise, it's Sim Race Sweden at the top of the pile. Martius Manson leading the way right now with a 1:13.93. The only drivers break into the 1 minute 13s. And then, this is where the surprise is for the moment. It's 2 Alcantech drivers, Rasmussen and Sandstrom, running out the top 3. But Palakui Grant, Sam, that's someone I want to talk about, as Rasmussen just goes fastest there. And well, there's Arvidsson to the top of the pile. Sandstrom instantly responding to go to the new pole time. Look at how close those times are. 1:13.26. And then Arvidsson and Rasmussen on exactly the same time, at 13.27. Only separated by 1,000th of a second between them. But Palakruger, well, I was about to say how well he's doing, Sammy. He was up in 4th place, and then all of a sudden, lots of fast times come in, and he moves down to 7th. But, well, I was about to say, heat the plaudits on him. Second in class right now, and Edouard Pop goes 8th overall. The AM driver, the one I said to keep half an eye out for, as Smith just goes fastest of the AM drivers, displacing down Schnabel into 5th for him.
Yeah, it's pretty unpredictable right now. I think we're going to see lots of improvements still in this session, as Grant, I think, hit the wall there. It's a little bit tricky to tell because it might just be coming through on our end. Swimster now goes P8. But Pop, yeah, he can still win this title, perhaps Pop, but he needs to have a good round. He needs to be getting at least into the A final and be beating Griffin by a fair few positions. Missed a round early on in the championship, did Pop, and that's why he's had a little bit of a disadvantage. Rasmussen goes fastest. Arvidsson, that's a big margin. That's 4/10 of a second clear of the rest of the field. And with his teammate Tobias also, remember, his championship rival serving a pit lane start tonight, Olsen is not going to be able to rival him in this qualifying session. So Arvidsson, he is going to go back out there, but I think that's going to be a very tricky time to beat as Smith just goes to... Apologies, that wasn't Smith going to the top, but Smith is at the moment at the top of the prams.
It's Mara going faster. Likewise, Grassetto, Swemstra and Palacio getting demoted down for the field. 10th and 13th. Respectively overall for those two right now. So we ride on the board with Garrett Spence just rounding out his lap. Really down in 25th, well 26th as he cuts through the timing beam. We're going to see an improvement from him. Wow. Let's have a look as the times come in. We do see a slower time. In fact, goes 4/10 slower than his previous best. As Swemstra gets himself elevated right up through the standings. A cracking lap into 6th there, Sam, but as things stand at the moment, Arvidsson, what a lap from him, as everyone was, around about the same sort of pace. All of a sudden he pulled that one out, went 4/10 quicker, and as much as Rasmussen and Sandstrom have just replied, like Palakui Grant running well again, back to Charles, heaps of praise onto him. Arvidsson's looking untouchable right now, Sam.
Yeah, only a couple more attempts for these drivers before the 10 minutes is up. Schnabel improving again. So once again, Schnabel not the fastest of the Alcantech drivers, as we saw in the first few rounds of the championship. His teammates really upped their game recently. Smith, only a moment ago, he was top of the AMs. He's down to 4th position. Rolandson was top. Grassetto also improving recently. Grant with that terrific time to go to P5, but Smith has been great in qualifying recently. It's another great qualifying lap. He's up to P5, moves ahead of Palakui Grant. Remember, Smith and Grassetto, top 2 in the Pro Am Championship. They are arch rivals, I think, from here on in for the rest of the championship. So they are really looking at one another more than anything else.
2.5 minutes left in qualifying. So wait to see who's going to come out on top and claim pole position here from California in the USA at Long Beach. Right now, got drivers on out laps, trying to get in laps in this latter stages of qualifying. Just coming up to 2 minutes left on the clock. Glamsetter's heading out. Smith and Rasmussen, we're heading into the pits. Looking to get some fresh rubber on top of the fuel on the tank to go towards the end of the session. If they get out now, they can get another lap in. Can they improve, Sam? I mean, Smith definitely being someone with a lot of forward momentum. Rasmussen doesn't look like he's going out again. Still sat in the garage.
Yeah, I think they've run out of time. You need to be in the second half of your out lap if you're going to be able to get in another lap before the end of time. Sandstrom then will get this lap and maybe another lap if he's very quick, albeit that final sector is very slow. And so it does take a while, even if you've only got a 5th of the lap to go. It is a decent chunk of the lap time. Swimster constantly improving. It's up to 6th position. Gravlin goes up to 12th place. Great to see so many Pro-Am drivers. Honestly, there's just so many competitive drivers. Rolandson also improving to 9th for Lesho. In amongst those drivers, we're a little bit short on pro drivers actually tonight. I think this is the first time that we've had more AMs than pros this season. Sandstrom goes to the top. What a lap time that is from the Alcantech driver. 1/100th of a second clear. That is some lap time, and that must be, I think, Alcantech's first pole position of the season. Am I right in saying that, Tim?
That is indeed, Sam. So Miss Sweden have locked it out between Arvidsson and Olsen.
Oh, this is a quick lap.
Season.
This is a purple sector 3. This might be enough for pole.
Is it, Sam? Is it? Is he going to remain wherever he is? Well,
There
look
you
at
go.
that. Look at that. 112.77, 200ths of a second faster. So Edward Pop, he was on an improving lap. He improves time-wise, but remains in 9th. He's 2 tenths behind. Palikui Grant, company operating 8, but still well above his closest rival, being Charney, who's all the way down in 19th, 10 places behind him, Sam. Pop's going to be taking that one with 2 hands and not wanting to let go of it.
And that is ending of qualifying. That was a fun qualifying session. Oh, Olsen, I'd love to see what Olsen could have done in all of that. But great to see Alcantech. They have got the pace to battle Simray Sweden. And with only Arvidsson and Martinsson up at the top for Simray Sweden, maybe there could be a proper challenge tonight. But there is the grid. Arvidsson, as per, on pole position. Nicholas Rasmussen in second position. Then it is Lennart Schnabel and Aaron Smith. Edward Pop, great opportunity for him to get straight into the A final. He needs to do that tonight in order to stay in championship contention. There's Julio Palacio, Fabio Grissetto, who needs a strong result tonight, and of course he is in a championship fight with Aaron Smith a few places up the road from him. There's Nicholas Vesman, Alistair Hay, Cambrali Charney, Christian Glamsetter, Michael Griffin, championship leader in the AS member is Griffin, Breuer, Jose Arroyo in 14th, and Tobias Olsen, second place in the championship, starting 14 places lower than his championship rival and teammate. It's going to be a tough one for Olsen. Do you think he could get top 7 from this one, Tim?
I don't see why not. I don't see why not. Someone like caliber. But as we know, the lottery is with street circuits. Is this the track end up being blocked? Can you make your way through? Do you get caught up in the incident? Well, we don't have long to find out at all as the driver's just heading to the grid. Olsen will have that advantage of starting from the pits. Any incidents will happen. He will be well behind them, so he'll be able to clear them with effective ease. The interesting ones are Smith and Pop starting 4th and 5th, 3rd, so 2nd and 3rd rows of the grid, top in Pro-Am and Am. What can they do? Both starting ahead of pro driver Julio Palacio and of course the Olsen who we mentioned starting from the pits. As the last few drivers head up. Here come the lights, and let's get ready to go racing for the first time this evening from Long Beach. As we're green, and we are go, and the run down to turn 1 is fully on between the two Scandinavians. There's Rasmussen on the right-hand side of your screen. Oh, to the left now on the outside, and he is ahead of Arvidsson. Can he swoop down? But Arvidsson covers him off and checks him up on the exit. Being Schnabel and Smith have to be really alert, and they're side by side into the fountain. This is not a good thing to do because it can so often end up in tears, but everyone makes it through somehow, some way. Olsen already up a whopping 6 places. He's already into 9th. He only makes makeup 2 to make the transfer to get into the final. Can he do it? Well, time is really on his side because he's still got 9 minutes of remaining on the clock. We haven't even completed 1 lap, and you can bet your bottom dollar the Swede will pick some of the drivers off in front of him. Palacio next on the track, and he is 6 tenths up the road. You can see him just in front as everyone heading down Seaside Way right now. Onto the brakes. Nobody close enough to try and really make any sort of advances as they all snake their way through Indy left and into the hairpin, and so tricky to get it right on the exit. Just looking into the background, everyone's cleared it fine. Arvidsson leads at the end of lap 1, Rasmussen 2nd, Schnabel 3rd, Smith, Grissetto, good opening lap from him, Pop 6th, Vestman, Palacio, Olsen, Hay rounding out your top 10. As you see Smith looking in very, very defensive there from Grissetto, another man in form. These two really pushing the top end.
Oh, Olsen's crashed. Is that Olsen?
No,
that was Palacio. But I think Olsen was involved.
But they haven't swapped places, Sam. They've remained where they are. And Olsen now heading up this train behind him of Hay, Glamsetter, well, but the rest of the field, Charney, Griffin, Brewer and Arroyo. And, well, according to our software there, Sam, I see Rasmussen and possibly even Pop as well involved. So, That's a little bit earlier in the lap, isn't it? Actually, just looking at those timestamps there from it. So,
but yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what happened to Olsen and why he's lost that time, because he was right up onto the back end of Palacio.
Yeah. So they both sort of came to a halt right there, but seemingly avoided too much damage. As Grosseto versus Smith, this is for the championship, remember. Smith is only a few points ahead of Grosseto, but Grosseto, in these early stages, he is looking faster. He was very close to making the lead at turn 1 on the last tour round of the circuit. Here goes Grosseto, but he just backs out of it. You've got to be so committed to go for a move. And in fact, Hayes just passed Olsen, so I wonder if Olsen does have damage, as I think we can get a replay of what happened to Tobias just a few moments ago and why he's got that damage. So ahead of him then in all of this is Palacio. And was Palacio slow on the exit then? I think he was slow on the exit. Olsen tried to get past, but he couldn't get past.
Wow, oh, Pop is out too. That is gutting for the AM driver, because he was on for a great result. Looked like he could even qualify automatically. And what that has done is it's elevated Vestment Hay now up as well. And it is absolutely shaken up in Heat 1. The top 3, well, they're heading off into the distance. Don't need to worry about them. Smith and Grosseto fighting it out for the victory in Pro-Am and 4th overall right now. And Olsen looking down and out. Pop in the pits. Likewise, Palacio as... Ooh, something else has happened, I think, because all of a sudden, Brewer's dropped to the pits. And so...
Oh, there goes Grosseto down the inside. Can he get it stopped, though? Oh, he's hit the wall. He's hit the wall, Fabio Grosseto. How much damage does he have, though? He hit it with the rear tyre. I think that might be quite significant there for Grosseto. He was absolutely sent it. Smith half covered off the move. Grosseto was way later on the brakes. Couldn't make the corner. But at the moment, it looks like he's still driving the car straight.
So when he got back on the power there, Sam, it was... Yeah, like a bucking Italian stallion almost, wasn't it? Where he was trying to get back in the power, couldn't get the car settled. I think we're going to see what's happened to Edward Pop right now, and well, he's looking like he's retired the car, and oh, that's the car by itself, Sam. I smell a victim of the walls here at Long Beach. Let's find out. So that's on the exit of the hairpin, I'm going to guess. And is he going to clout it?
Well, I think it was just the instant through turn 6 earlier on in the lap, and yeah, he crashed and then unfortunately had Palacio go straight into the back of him. So just a self-error there from Pop, and I was saying how he could get himself right back into championship contention. It has not happened, and those are the type of errors that if you want to win a championship, he needs to cut out. But it's a shame because he had brilliant pace now. Could still get through the B final. I would not rule him out of getting into the top 4 in the B final, but that's not how he wanted to progress early on. So we've got a few drivers back to the pits. Olsen, Breuer and Pop. They're basically all in the same bit of circuit now because they all had to take back to the pits or pick up repairs earlier on, and they are kind of battling each other from 12th down to 14th. Palacio out of the race and the others running clean.
So I'm talking of Olsen. I believe we've got pictures now of exactly what incident sent him to the pits. Unable to carry on. Oh wow, nowhere to go. Innocent bystander. Gutting for him because he had that great first few corners, got himself up into 9th and then just caught out in the midfield, whereas everyone in front of him, they've all headed off into the distance. Hadn't had to worry about any sort of traffic right now. We have got 3.5 minutes left on the clock. Arvidsson, Rasmussen, Schnabel, Smith, Grosseto, Vestman and Hay, they are all through as things stand at the moment into the final. But Glamsetter is only 1.2 seconds behind Hay in 8th. And don't discredit Charney and Griffin. They have got some decent pace between the pair of them. And could potentially, well, I say that, I think something's happened to Glamsetter because Charney and Griffin have just headed straight past them. There is Griffin. There's Charney ahead of him. And I tell you what, well, Glamsetter is headed to the pits, so clearly I would say contact with the wall there, Sam, and that's why he's dropped all those places.
And by the way, the incident ahead of Olsen earlier on involved Charney, so it was Charney and Glamsetter who collided ahead of Olsen earlier on. Apologies, it was Arroyo and Breuer. Apologies. Who collided. As I think we've got yeah, the Glamset's incident why he's just lost a few places or bits. Yeah, you can also see live as well. A Griffin attempts a move. Oh wow, that was too much speed into that corner, and the car's going damaged. It just happens like that sometimes at Long Beach. It's one of those circuits, Tim, where that turn one feels so safe 90% of the time, and then that time that you push it 5 meters further on the brakes is the time where you're nowhere near making the corner. It's a bizarre one. You sort of have to have that margin for it all the time.
Exactly. You either make it or you don't. It's one of the drivers that did not make it through, as that is Griffin. Well, can he get ahead of Charney, who's not giving up the place reluctantly at all, but has to yield in the end, and that is the Brit ahead of Charney. And what can Griffin do now? He's in that fresh air. They've both lost a lot of time to Hay, who's currently in 7th in the last of those automatic promotion places. And you have to wonder, with so little time left on the clock, as I look at where the leaders are right now. So they are just coming through to the last few corners. There we go. There's your leader, Arvidsson. He is going to take the checkered flag, or is he? This is going to be close.
Yeah.
Because it's 1 minute 20. I think he's done it, Sam. I think.
Yeah, he made it with about probably 5 seconds to spare. iRacing is quite cautious when it comes to that, where if you cross the line with like 2 seconds to go on the clock, it will usually give you the checkered flag. But yeah, I think he had enough of a cushion there. So we've still got 2 more laps to go in this race. Hopefully everyone's taken into consideration the pace of Arvidsson and has enough fuel to get to the end. But despite that early attack from Rasmussen on lap 1, really the Alcantech guys have not had the pace to keep up with the Sim Race Sweden driver, albeit that race launch will give them hope that they can do something off the line come the A final later on in the event. Smith still keeping behind Grosseto quite comfortably. I'm a little bit concerned for Michael Griffin. I feel like this is a classic Michael Griffin heat where he finishes just outside the transfer spots, and then something goes wrong in the B final. I hope it doesn't, and I hope we actually see him in the A final for the first time in a few meetings tonight.
As you say, Sam, it definitely has been the perennial foe of Griffin, where he's had a great result, but just not quite good enough to get himself automatically into that final. As Arvidsson crosses the line, new fastest lap of the race, white flag in the air, 1 to go. Here in Heat 1 from Long Beach, the ARA F3 Super Series here on Apex Racing TV. And right now our top 4, well, they've remained as they were all race long. Arvidsson leading from Rasmussen, Schnabel and Smith. Grosseto, he's up 2. Likewise is Vestman and Hay. I'll take you up to 7th. Then Griffin, so near but yet so far. Up 4 places into 8th. Likewise Rio and Olsen up 4. Olsen, since he's come back out of the pits, obviously hampered a little bit by the traffic, but has made a bit of progress, largely due to incidents from other drivers that's ridden off their cars. There is Hay, and he will be loving right now that sight of a clear track behind him. Nobody can attack. You can play this one safe, play this one easy, just like your leader is doing. Isaac Arvidsson is going to win this one and a canter. 5.2 seconds clear of the field. That is a really state of contentment on this round here today from the Swede of Sim Race Sweden Esports. A great victory from him. Rasmussen 2nd, Schnabel 3rd. Smith across the line, 4th overall, winner in Pro-Am. They're through. Likewise is Grosseto. We wait for the last few drivers to come across. Vestman and Hay pretty much crosses together. They are through. They have made it straight to the final. Griffin misses out. And 7 seconds behind Hay in the end there, Sam. Just, well, that battling with Charney cost him dearly initially. And then from that point onwards, he was stuck and in no man's land and cut adrift.
Yeah, and just trying to figure out what happened to a couple of incidents near the end. That Glamsetzer beating Olsen in the end, so I think Olsen may have had another crash right at the end of the race, so he was a long way off managing to advance in the end. And still no amateur drivers through, but yeah, 4 Pro-Ams and 3 Pros 2 pros missing out and 1 pro as well. As we transfer straight over into the second heat of the evening, it is Jesper Sandström on pole position with Mattias Martinsson. So it's the other way around, Alcantech leading Sim Race Sweden this time round. And then it's Kevin Zwemstra, Palle Grant with that great qualifying, really strong pace so far from Grant. He's still got a chance at the Pro-Am Championship, but he needs a few lightning rounds to finish the season. Then it's Darren Rolandson, Philip Russell, who's a bit under the radar so far tonight, but good qualifying from him. Seb Gravland, Chuck Murray, Rickard Boberg, Garrett Spence, Cadence Presley, Dorian Arroyo, Alex Rockenbach, Jack Crew, who is in his first race of the season. Welcome back to Jack. And Jack Reeve, his fellow namesake, rounding out the field. He has a pit lane start to serve, however, Reeve.
Yeah. So, as always, in these first of the 2 heats of this evening, top 7 to make it through automatically. So, we wait on Reeve, but he's starting for the pits. So, everyone lined up on the grid. So wait for the click, time to click down. Here we go. Here come the lights. Let's get ready to go racing for the second time this evening as we are green, we are go, we are away. Here from Long Beach, and it's like history repeating itself. It's Sim Race Sweden versus Alcantech on the drag race down to turn 1, but this time around it's Sim Race Sweden and Martinsson straight across the front of Sandström to take the lead, take control of the race here at Long Beach as they head down through past the fountain, negotiate through that a lot more comfortable than in Heat 1. Everyone making it through, or do they? There's someone really slow away there. I didn't quite catch who that was. I think it might have been Jack Crew potentially. And it looks like he's going really slow. Was it Rollinson? Oh, he's rolled straight into the tyre barrier there, Sam.
Yeah, that was messy for those judges being able to survive those first few corners, but what a start for Martinsson. We got so used to it. The Sim Race Sweden guys are just extraordinary, all 3 of them. Brilliant off the line, and Martinsson's delivered once again. He's already pulling away. It's going to be a very tricky race to win now for Sandström. Grant looking competitive. I mean, Sandström just is not looking comfortable right now, and he's pushing his teammate Zwemstra back into these pro-ams. Will Grant go for a move into the hairpin? No, he doesn't. In fact, no one really going for a move, despite the fact that with the concertina effect, it was probably on for a couple of them. Dorian Arroyo up into 10th place, albeit I think that's because Cadence Presley has had an issue, so it drops down to 13th place now, Presley. Here is Zwemstra once again. He's still under pressure. Sandström's been able to pull away from him, but Grant with much better speed should be the driver on the inside though who has the advantage through turn 1. Grant says no to that. He's passed. He's up into P3.
It's one of those hold my beer, watch this type moment as he sent it right around the outside. Well, there seems to be a bit of more grip there at this stage in the race. 2 minutes nearly completed out of race 1. That's a big race distance already. Martinsson leads from Sandström. Grant jumps to 4th. Gravland quite so far, but running strongly up 2 places into 5th. Russell, Boberg, last drivers in those automatic qualification spots. And Spence, Marrow, Royo, Crew, Rogenbach, Reeve with Rollinson and Priestley all into the pits. Let's take a little look at exactly what happened to Rollinson a little bit earlier on. So here's that's Presley, isn't it?
Yeah.
Straight into the wall.
No, they did the same thing. That's another corner a bit like turn 1 where you think that, oh, I'm taking this one really carefully, I'm going to break 5 meters later, and then that happens. I remember Sam Bird had an issue in Formula E one time, just going straight down the escape road, I think, at that corner. None of these corners are easy, but yeah, Firestone turn is no exception by any means. One of the 2 corners around here named after tyre brands, the Bridgestone curve on the start-finish line also being named. Everyone a little bit spread out right now. This is the tightest one. Spence versus Murray. Murray down 1 place from his race start so far. Spence 1 place outside of the qualification spots. Boberg not having the best time of it. Remember, Boberg led the Pro-Am Championship earlier on in the season. I believe he's now down into P4 in that. And wasn't particularly impressive in qualifying, but he's having a very solid race, as we can sort of rely on Boberg as his teammate with for Crips Racing, Glamset as well. Both 2 of the most consistent drivers out on the field.
We certainly are, Sam, as head through past the hairpin for another time. He's just settled down a little bit, but you know it's that mid-race lull before everything kicks off once again here in this series. The fastest laps of the race, well, only 1,000 separating them. Martinson initially crunched it for Zemstra, snatches it right away from him. Zemstra going 1,000 quicker last time around alone. Can Zemstra keep it up? Can he make it count? Well, he's got time in which to do so. It will be tight, but definitely has time right now, Sam.
Yeah, he's looking fast. Zemstra, Grant's looking fast. I mean, those top 4 could all be on top of one another by the end of this 10-minute heat. It's just so tricky to go for an overtake, particularly when it comes to the heat. I mean, we haven't really said it too many times in recent races because I think the drivers have sort of figured out how to drive this format where in the heats, just get through, it's not worth the risk. Whereas I think the drivers have figured that out, honestly, by this point, so we don't have to be too pedantic to them. So I think those top 4 will, on the most part, stay in the same order unless it really becomes an opportunity for them. No one close enough yet, but still, we're seeing Mauro looking so much faster. That's a lovely line actually through the final hairpin for Mauro, and he's going to have a good opportunity at Spencer. He's only quarter of a second behind as they reach the start-finish line.
The first lap of the race from Martin, 122, 112.99. Really opening that gap, grinding it away from Sandstrom right now. But as you say, Sam, it's like the drivers have, well, they've always been listening to us. They've, you know, much more calmer approach over these last few rounds. 2 heat 1 and 2. The drivers just looking to make their way through, or try and gain any additional positions.
Yeah, just Mauro getting that one into 8th position, but yeah, he sort of needs to put the kitchen sink at this one, does Mauro, but that was a nice one into turn 1 on Spence, just a simple down the inside overtake, and now we wait to see if he can catch up to Boberg by the end of this event. He's currently 1.5 seconds behind. I think that might be the closest one. Philip Russell, very under the radar so far. I mean, he's a new driver for HBDS Academy 2. That's Hard Point Delta Sports Academy 2. You can understand why they've made it into an acronym, because that would be a mouthful if we were going to say that. But Boberg is catching up to him right now. That was 0.2 of a second faster that time for Boberg. And still, Martinson is going faster. Another fastest lap of the race for him. The challenge from Grant and Zwems just seems to have stalled now. These top 2 pulling away, and Martinson has a little bit in hand right now. This is looking very good for him.
Yes, indeed. I'll tell you what, Sam. There's some absolutely cracking drives here today. Just heads through. I'll tell you what, it's interesting to see how this is all being played out right now, because it's calm, but I don't know, Sam. I don't know. It's a tricky one of how safe do you play this as a driver, because if you push that bit too hard, you could end up in the wall yourself. But there we go.
That's unlucky. That's unfortunate for Jack Reeve. That Rogan Crew losing the car, and Reeve getting alongside him, going for a standard overtake. Remember, Reeve started from the pit lane, as that's another hit into the wall for Crew, probably picking up, not considering the damage that he had on the car. And that was all very messy. Feel bad there for Reeve, because he needs all the positions he can get to improve his position for the B final race starts, and he may well need damage repairs after that one. So yeah, big setback for the British driver. Thought there may have been a setback for Russell just a moment ago, but he still seems to be alright. And in fact, has just pulled away from Rickard Boberg that last time round, and looking a bit stronger. There's the gap between Boberg and Mauro. Mauro, whilst he was in traffic, wasn't really catching, but now he is on his way. He is looking very good, is the American.
You're going to have 2 laps as well left, Sam.
Yeah.
So this is not quite done and dusted for Mauro. We're going to see a change for 7th place and the last of the automatic qualification places to get yourself straight into the final. Well, remains to be seen as they pass the site the previous accident. So many of our drivers, well, playing safer. I was about to say, Sam, previously, you know, if there's an instant up in front of you, yes, you know, it gets to the stage in the race where you sort of probably you stop trying a little bit, but you need to be there just in case something happens, because the last thing you want is to a form while back where you've not been too bothered and an incident in front of you happens and you lose lots of places in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, you need to constantly be keeping your head. So we've seen it a couple of times, of course, with Reeve, with that incident that occurred in front of him. No chance to avoid it. Swansea was a little bit wide through turn 1 there, but it was all good. Roggenbach, by the way, made a mistake a few moments ago. He drops down to 13th place, but is back on his way, is the German drive. But that's a couple of places, or a place gained for each of Reeve and Crew. Good news for them. And yeah, Grant on that last tour of the circuit actually lost 1.5 seconds. He had an awful final state, so I imagine just messed up the final hairpin, but had just enough of a gap to stay in that P3 with 1.5 laps remaining, and actually starting to pull away here from Swemster. So as long as he keeps it error-free, should be safe in that top 3 place for Grant, which I think would be his best results of the season in a heat race for him. But yeah, I think the close one out there. In fact, actually, it's turning into... Maro's challenge is sort of scuppered a little bit. He's just made a mistake, Tim. In sector 3 of this lap, Chuck Maro, he's lost a second to Rickard Boberg ahead.
Gutting, because that looked like that was going to be an absolutely brilliant battle on. It's going to take the white flag when we cross the line. 1 lap left to go. Right now. Oh, starting to together a little bit more. And... it's all, well, at the moment, it looks like Grant, good for third, the Pro-Am driver. Third on the podium overall. Great drive from him. Takes his 1 mistake, and he's only got Swampster 8 attempts behind him on the road right now. He could fall out. And his top 3 places still, he's good enough for the win in Pro-Am at the moment. Gravland, a return to 4th for him, up to 5th. And this one largely helped by the lack of pro drivers, I think, in this split Sam, which is allowing, you know, more Pro-Am drivers through in comparison to the last one. But disappointing, the Yams haven't really been able to take the fight. The checkered flag is out, and Martinson, he is going to take the victory here from Lamb Beach in Heat 2. Sandstrom is going to finish second. Grant, where is he? Is he going to make it through? Well, he's out of the final call already, and he grabs it with 2 hands. A great drive from Palakui Grant, driving on home soil here today at Long Beach.
And like I was saying last time out, it's his local race because he lives in Bolsey, and so it is the closest iRacing circuit to where he lives. So pretty much his back door. So well done to him for that one. Dorian O'Roy, a little bit of start across the line, but there you go. Dorian finishes in 10th place, not too bad. He will start up in 6th place then for the B final. Certainly could do something from there. Reeve, unfortunately, with that damage, I'm not sure if it necessarily cost him a place. Maybe could have got Dorian O'Roy if it weren't for that contact that he had. Crew was the driver who accidentally spun into him, and he finishes the race in 13th place. The only retiree, Darren Rolandson, which is a huge shame because the Shazoo driver looked very quick in qualifying, could have well gone into the A final. Will be very tricky for him though, from 14th place in the B final. This is actually one of the biggest B finals we're going to have for some time. I think Presley just went on at the final hairpin, but back on his way.
And for those bigger grids, Sam, more and more chances of disappointment of not making it through. Top 4 from the next race will be qualifying for the final. So the next race, the B final, made up of all the drivers who did not gain an automatic qualification to the final, the A final. Let's take you through that grid. Griffin lining up on the front row alongside Maro, with Charney and Spence on the second row. And then in row 3, that's a row with Jose and Dorian starting 5th and 6th respectively. Brewer and starts alongside Jack Reeve on the 4th row with Edouard Pop. Running strong in Heat 1. Unfortunately, that incident cost him dear. He starts 9th with Alex Rogenbuck for company in the all-German row there. Glamsetter has Jack Reeve for company on the 6th row, with the 7th row being Tobias Olsen and Cadence Bradley. Julio Palacio, he's got Darren Rolson for company. And that is on the 8th row of the grid. Sorry, 8th row of the grid for those drivers. A bit of a moment there. Couldn't remember what number it was, but was waiting on one.
Austin starting from the pits, by the way. He was going to start from the pits earlier on. He didn't start from the pits, but he's starting from the pits this time. So good luck for him. This is going to be a tough one for the two-time champion to get through.
It is indeed. As here come the lights, and let's get ready to go racing once again. And that is not the best of starts there from Griffin. Just didn't get away, not reacting as well as Mauro, who's out in front, and he is well ahead already, and he moves right across to cover off that racing line. As we're going to have a 4 wide in the background. They squeeze themselves down into 3 wide and into 2 wide, and there's contact into turn 1. It was almost inevitable, and there's 3 drivers who've made contact with the wall. Oh, as that's not going to work too well, as Brewer there having to check right up. There's someone alongside him as they entered into the fountain, and he got squeezed up onto the grass there, as there's a spinner in the background. And who is that? That's Garrett Spence round, and not a good place to have to rejoin from.
That was a mess. Reeve, I think, got caught up in it as well, but everyone's still running. How is everyone still running? I don't understand. Olsen's starting from the pits, obviously. I was thinking he's going to gain 5 places here, Olsen, but it hasn't really worked out that way. But there might be a little bit of front wing damage for a few of the drivers out there. So Mario upper place, a bunch of drivers got poor starts, and Griffin will be pleased that he only lost 1 start because it really was not a great launch for him. But 8 places gained for Cadence Presley. Brilliant stuff for Presley so far in this race and giving himself a chance, but Murray and Griffin are doing well. And by the way, a little bit of libel by myself. I was saying how Griffin hasn't got into an A final for a while. It was only 2 weeks ago that he did. He got into an A final at Kota, but it has still been not too many A finals he's got into in recent rounds. But yeah, looking to get back in there tonight. He's currently 2nd place as Jose Arroyo trying to get back past Matthew Brewer right now. Poor start for Arroyo, down 7 places, not without any damage. I think he's going to have damage now though. He's slammed into the wall, and that's Reeve as well, colliding with Roggenbug. Reeve can't catch a break tonight.
Oh, Sam, it's all going wrong, and he needs to push early because only 4 drivers qualifying from this into the grand final.
And Palacios crashed. Palacio has crashed. He's not going to get through, I think, from there. Albeit, did he crash or did he just spin?
Well, I think he might have just spun, Sam. And for our 2 pro drivers in this B final, it is not looking good at them. Julio Palacio currently in 11th, and Olsen down in 13th, Sam, after that pit start. A lot of work to do. I'm not sure they can make it up, especially when you've got the likes of Rollinson and Presley are up 9 and 8 places, respectively, between the pair of them.
Who's just crashed ahead? And who's that he's collided with? Brewer.
Oh, Brewer's already been in the wars once today, and that is not good. So many of other Americans in this league hoping to a great race here today. Their home race for some of them. Also, it's Kota previously, as this is side by side, and that's Rollinson ahead of Priestley.
Yeah, Priestley's got damage. I think you can see on the front left of that front wing. That is not looking pretty. And so
not much is it, Sam, but just how much does that affect the car?
Right, it seems to be affecting him a lot down the pit straight. I mean, I wouldn't have thought it'd be too bad, but his straight line speed seems to be absolutely killed. As we've got a replay of what happened to Crew, and this was with Brewer then. So, maybe, so he sent it in way too deep. Now, does Brewer come in behind?
It's backing up, Sam. That always makes me feel
a
a little bit.
Played out. So I wonder if Brewer had a separate incident then, or just lost, maybe just put off by him. But I don't think there was contact.
Could well have been, Sam. It's down Seaside Way to Priestley and Glance today. It is, yes, it is. But out in front, I tell you what, the Hams are having a field day right now. Mauro leads, then it's Griffin, Charlie, and Pop. All AM drivers, all in qualification spots right now. Great drive from them. And they've got a healthy gap to Dorian Arroyo, currently in 5th. And then we have the fast moving forward Rollinson, who's up into 6th, but incredible 10 places. Glams there, Priestley. Palacio and Olsen, those 2 pros working together, 9th and 10th respectively. Ran out of top 10. Replay just coming in for you. Let's take a look at what happened.
Sorry to interrupt, Rollinson's just crashed with Dorian Arroyo, but there was...
Sympathy. You were right, Sam. You called it. You said it might be a sympathy spin, and it was.
yeah, I'm sure we'll get a replay of what happened to Rolandson just a moment ago. I think we may have just caught the end of it as well whilst we were doing the picture-in-picture. But that has now promoted Olsen up into P9. Dorian Arroyo only dropping down to P6, so he lost a place to Glamsetter, but has he got damage on that car? He's certainly defending right now. Olsen, meanwhile, just going past Palacio. So Palacio, after that spin earlier on, certainly doesn't seem like Palacio hit the wall. Oh, this is so slow for these guys. Olsen might have a run on the pair of them as Tim put his hands into a claw shape right there because he was so nervous about the pace that they were going into the hairpin. Olsen comfortably past Presley. Next up is Dorian Arroyo, who might well have damage. He's certainly gaining very quickly here, Olsen. How risky is he going to go for it? Here he goes, the two-time defending champion. He's up into 6th position, but he was leaving nothing on the edge, on the wall.
I was going to say, Sam, he tapped the wall, I'm sure, there on the exit of turn 1. But he's got, well, he's got away with it, and he's got off up the road. Needs to make up time. 2 seconds is the gap ahead of him to Glamsetter, and then he's got to make up the 3 seconds between Glamsetter and Pop that currently stands. Work cut out massively for Olsen, but if anyone can do it, he can. And it's also then which of the drivers are gonna fall out of that top 4, or even might it be Chuck Morrow, but he's out in front. It's 1.2 seconds clear. Just see in the background here, Palacio having to defend from Cadence Presley, who's really thrown some shapes here today in Pro-Am. 9th overall, up 5 places, was a little bit higher, but just falling down a little bit now. But even so, a good, strong result here right now.
Then we can get a replay of what happened to Rawlinson here. Was, oh, that's the biggest netcode I think I've seen in 2022, honestly. That was ridiculous. That was Dorian Arroyo spinning in front of him, and totally unlucky there for Rawlinson. That's a huge shame because he was having a good run. He's actually out of the race now, is Rawlinson. So is Jose Arroyo and Jack Crew, as I think we were just seeing Palacio get past Dorian Arroyo right there. So Palacio.
So many of them just getting so close and losing the rear end, coming within millimeters of hitting that tyre barrier on exit of turn, what, 4 and sorry, 5 even, and he's so close, and somebody surely is just going to dance with the devil a bit too much and
Palacio.
Well,
Palacio's just done that, Tim.
There we go. I said it was going to happen. I wasn't quite expecting, Sam, for it to be so soon, but then we are 7.5 minutes in.
Has Dorian Arroyo done the same thing? No, I think that was just a normal place loss to Jack Reeve. Jack Reeve's done well, hasn't he? I can't remember what happened to Reeve earlier on, but he got spun out by someone. Yeah, someone crashed in front of him at turn 1.
It was Jack Crew.
Well, Crew was in the heats.
Well, yes,
but yeah, there was the separate one at turn 1 earlier on in the race, I think on lap 2. But Reeve's still going. He's still up in 7th place. This is going to be tight. Pop, Glamsetter, Olsen. Last time out, Pop, 114.8. Glamsetter, 113.8. Olsen, 113.3. By my calculations, they're going to be on top of one another by the end of this race.
Sam, you say that though. Charney is only about, what, 8 tenths ahead of Pop.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think you need to include him in that group as well. 4 cars fighting it out for 2 places. Who's going to come out on top? Well, I think my money's surely going to be with Olsen to get one of those 2 spots with the way he's been driving. Like, well, he's driving the wheels out of that Delara F3. But that leaves 1 place between 3 drivers. Who to pick? Charney, Pop, Glamsetter. It's hard to know where to look right now. I mean, I hope one of the AMs makes it through so we have more AMs into the grand final. But will we? It's also a top 3 in the AM Championship as well. It's Griffin, Charney and Pop. So none of them are going to want to give this up whatsoever. I mean, Griffin with the advantage because he's 6 seconds pretty much ahead of Charney and Pop right now.
Yeah, Griffin, it's never easy in those top 4, is it? We haven't seen a race all season long where the B final has been a simple top 4 established themselves in the first half of the race and then they just continued for the rest of the race. Olsen clips the wall slightly there. You can get away with that. Even in real life, you can sort of skim the wall and it's all fair game, but obviously there is a limit. Olsen needs to clear Glamsetter here, nice and quickly. He's got 4 minutes. I think he'll still be feeling confident right now, Olsen. there's a decent chance that either Charney or Pop will crash ahead of him. And even if they don't, Olsen should catch by the last lap of the race. You can see them ahead of him. But that panic might start setting in a little bit later on. And there you go, up into P5. Graham says knows there's no point. Even if he keeps behind Olsen, he needs something to happen in front of him. So he may as well let Olsen go. And hopefully, maybe Olsen will, you know, be a bowling ball and knock down the pins that are Charney and Pop up the road. So that's his best gap. He's got 3 seconds to gain now as Olsen in order to get into the A final. As we've got a replay, I believe, of the opening lap.
We have got of the start. Let's take a look. And a couple of cars just didn't get away, Sam, and that's what caused a few people to be out of position a little bit, maybe. But, well, what we're about to see, 2, 3 cars spinning out of control. It was so tight, 3-wide. It was even 4-wide at one point, and it was always going to happen when there's so many cars fighting over those inches of tarmac, Sam.
I'm not sure who the light blue car who was right on the inside of everyone was.
Would that have been a pop, potentially?
Maybe.
I think it might well have been.
And that was part of the issue, but yeah, there was plenty of other stuff. There you go, yeah, very good shout there. So that was Pop, and that's part of the reason why he's up there. Pop must be thinking, come on, I've driven so well. Oh no, has Olsen crashed? I think Olsen has just crashed. Or has he got away with it? He's still racing. Is he going to have to come into the pits? Deary me, 3 minutes to go. Tobias Olsen, 2-time defending champion. I don't think he's going to get into the A final unless something big happens up ahead.
I think, Sam, I think that's just done and dusted now. As Pop's made it past Charney as well, trying to protect himself and cover himself off the advancing Glamsetter, and Olsen has...
Glamsetter's gone off. He's gone straight on at turn 1, I think.
He's got to have done. That's the only way. There he is. Wow. I mean, I don't know. It's all happening right now, Sam. As we've got a replay, let's take a little look at what we can see from this one. So this is on board right now. That's with Olsen, and that's why he lost that place to Glamsetter, Sam.
3.5 seconds to catch for Tobias Olsen. He's done some pretty good laps in this series over the years.
I don't think he could do it, Sam, because I mean his best lap roughly is 7 tenths quicker than Charney's.
Last week,
there's not enough time left on the clock.
Last week I had what some would say was an irrational faith in Fabio Grissensen. And I was saying throughout the race he's going to get through, even when he was 5 seconds behind going on to the last lap. Do you know what happened to that man?
Well, he did make it through, Sam, didn't he?
He made it through.
He did.
That last lap Olsen gained by 2.8 seconds.
Wow.
Obviously, Charney was overtaken, so that lost him a bit of time. I'm not questioning that. I think Olsen's going to catch him. He's got 2 laps to go. He'll catch him with a lap to spare here if he continues this rate. I mean, he's made it so tricky for himself. Should have served his pit lane start in his heat, not the B final. So that was the first mistake. And then obviously he spun earlier on at Firestone Turn. But he's got enough time here. The gap is coming down half a second a sector right now.
I'm aghast at a loss a little bit here. I mean, last time round, sector 3 and 4 were the fastest of the race for Olsen across anyone. Fastest lap of the race to boot as well. And Charney maybe starting to feel a little bit like a sicking duck, but that gap is neutralising.
I think he's just made a mistake, Tobias.
I think he has. I think that's what's cost him. There you go. In fact, he's now 1/10 behind in that last sector alone. I mean, even so, Sam, he still made up a second pretty much on that last lap alone. But white flag in the air. This is the last lap. He's got to give it everything that he's got. And as much as I think he can catch him in this lap, Sam, he's going to try and get past him. And that is a completely different story. And you know, bet your bottom dollar, you know full well that Kubali Charney will not give this one up. But I tell you what, Olsen is pushing it, and he's pushing hard. He can almost reach out and touch Charney right now as we head through Tekal corner down Pine Avenue into Seaside Way. As he almost skims the wall once again, does Olsen, and he is gaining rapidly on Charney, and Pop isn't far ahead either. As onto the brakes, this is going to take a mammoth final sector. He's gaining, he's closing even further, but I don't think it's going to be enough, because I think Charney's going to hold on to this one, and with a drift out of the corner, Marrow takes the victory. Griffin is through, Pop 2, and Charney's going to beat out Olsen. Olsen's out, Sam.
Wow. Well, Tobias, obviously he would have been annoyed with his pit lane start, but it was those mistakes which cost him. Even on that penultimate lap when he made a mistake in the final sector, if he hadn't have done that, he could have been in range for a last corner move. But great performance from those top four. Murray and Griffin obviously miles clear. Pop with that overtake on Charney was crucial. He really needed to pull that off, otherwise he would have been under pressure in the closing stages. And I think that's the first time this season where the top four, after 5 minutes into the race, have been the top four who have advanced. They just did not make mistakes around such a tricky circuit. Great effort from the four of them. And we've got 3 AMs into the A final. That's the first time that's happened for a long time.
It has. It's been about 3 rounds since we've last had AMs into the finals. And then we get 3. It's like waiting for buses in the UK. You wait forever and then 2 or 3 come along at once. Well, wow, the driver's just going to head into a bit of a warm-up session now. Let's take you through some of the results from the previous heats to refresh our memory. The driver's going to see into the final. So, first off, heat 1, it was Arvidsson taking the victory. Rasmussen and Schnabel, 2 Akajit drivers, 2nd and 3rd. Then Smith, Grassesso, Vestman and Hay, they made it through to the final. The top 7, of course, progressing with Griffin, Charney, Arroyo, Brewer, Pop, Glamsessa, Olsen, then Palacio obviously retiring the car 6 laps prior to the end. Into heat 2, well, it was a similar type of affair with Simray Sweden at the top there as well. Sandstrom 2nd, Grant, great result from him, 3rd, Zemstra, Gravland, Russell and Bobeg all making the cut, big inside the top 7, and they got themselves straight through to the final with Mauro, Spence, Arroyo, Jack Reeve, Rogenbach, Crew, last driver finish on the last lap with Priestley 1 lap down, and Rowlandson retiring the car 8 laps from the end. And then of course it was into the B final, the consolation final that we've just seen. Mauro taking the victory. It was a relatively comfortable victory for him. Didn't see much of him. Likewise, Michael Griffin too. Solid performance from those two. Sam mentioned Pop got the pass done on the penultimate lap from Charney to get himself into 3rd, and Charney then had to defend and hold off the advances of Olsen, who'd come from the pits, the back of the grid, all the way up to 5th, but just those mistakes prior cost him dearly, and Charney held on to get himself into the final with the drivers above him. Olsen 5th, Glamsetter, Jack Reeve, Arroyo, Rodenbeck and Brewer running at the top 10 with Spence, Julio Palacio retiring the car 7 laps from the end, likewise Priestley. Rowlandson, another retirement for him with Jack Leave, and Jose Arroyo retiring 10 from the end.
And I don't want to be, I don't want to call this too early, but I feel like that's probably the first time that Olsen hasn't got into an A final in Apex Racing Academy Formula 3 VRS Super Series history. I certainly can't recall it being a time that happening in the past, and of course it's only been a couple of seasons that we've really been using this format as well. And so looking at the championship, was 14 points going into this round between Arvidsson and Olsen. It's going to be a lot more than that. Remember, Tim, we were saying last time out, oh, well, Olsen's had an awful A final, but, you know, all these things, it's good that it's happened to him in this race, because at least this will be his job. No, this will be his job. This is his last round. So that awful round at Nürburgring will count, and honestly, Arvidsson will need to have a poor final couple of rounds of the championship. Arvidsson is going to be a good chunk clear of the 2-time defending champion going into Interlagos next week.
In the warm-up, Sam, you know, the build-up, we were talking about Arvidsson at Code to get the past and Olsen, the penultimate corner. Would that be the, you know, pivotal moment in the championship? I think we're wrong. I think we're seeing it, and we're living and experiencing it here today. And talking of Martinson, he starts from pole with a teammate from SimRace Sweden Esports, Martinson, starting alongside him on the front row of the grid. These two Alcantech drivers on the second row with Rasmussen and Sandstrom lining up alongside one another. Schnabel, he starts fifth with Palakri. Grant, top Pro-Am driver, in sixth with his, well, rival and foe, Smith, right behind him in seventh. Zemstra joins Smith on the fourth row of the grid. Grassetto and Gravland are running out your top 10, the fifth row of the grid, with Vestman and Russell and Hay and Boberg on the seventh row. Maro, your last pro driver, obviously winner of the B final, the Constellation final. He starts alongside Michael Griffin with Edouard Pop and Kwambali Chani. They're going to round out your 9-row, 18-car field here in the final as here come the lights. Let's get ready to go racing for the final time this evening. We're green and we are go, and coming right back in is Martinson trying to cover off the advances of Rasmussen as they box him in here. Tactical manoeuvres happening right from the off here at Long Beach as we race it down to Toyota for the first time in the final. And I tell you what, it's closest. I think there might have been a big shunt in the background there. Yes, there was cars up in the air, and that is Charney and Betzman.
And Schnabel's being caught up in something as well. Schnabel off at the, as Sandstrom as well has also been involved in some. So awful start for Alcantech right now. Two of their main drivers have been involved in incidents early on. And Palakui Grant has just had a slightly poor corner, it seems. He's dropped down to P6. So it seems like Smith is leading out of the Brown drivers. Great start for Grassetto again. And it seems like we're going to see Smith versus Grassetto for the second time this evening here at Long Beach. In fact, that's an excellent run for Grassetto. He's going to have a great opportunity down into Firestone curve. Top three sprinting away. Two SimRace Sweden drivers and the remaining Alcantech NHR driver. Smith was able to hold on to Grassetto, so top of the Pro-Ams. And good start as well for Edouard Pop and Michael Griffin.
Oh no, so it's
good start for Pop. Awful start for Pop.
Well, it was going so well, and I'm talking about pivotal moments in the championship happening here at Long Beach. That could have been another one. In the Yams, oh, he's crabbing Sam. I think that's broken suspension. That could be done and dusted for Pop. I mean, he was ahead of Griffin, his rival for the championship. Oh, wow, and it's all gone wrong for Edouard Pop. Into the pit, Schnabel, Pop. I think Shani will be joining them shortly. Sandstrom, Vestman. That is 5 cars out of the 18, all into the pits on the opening lap with 2 minutes completed. Wow, but there's still so many close moments out on track. Arvidsson leading from Martinson, Rasmussen third, Smith fourth overall, leader in Pro-Am 2 with Grassetto nipping at his heels right now. Palakui Grant, he's still in there, don't discredit him. Zvemsha seventh, then we've got Gravland, Russell, Boberg running at the top 10 with Griffin leading it in now. He's 11th with Maro, Hay, and then we've got drivers just coming out of the pits are Schnabel and Pop. Charney just coming out too. Samstra Investment, well, I think they could be retirements potentially.
Really shows how strong SimRace Sweden are when they can have their 2-time defending champions Tobias Olsen have a mayor of a meeting and still score maximum points, as it looks like they're going to be able to, winning both heats and 1-2 in the A final. Really does show the level that they are performing at the moment. As I think we've got a replay of one of the incidents at the start of the race.
This is what happened to Schnabel's.
Is that Smith?
Yeah, he was alongside. Smith was on the inside into the fountain there, and just wow. I'm not sure if it was netcode or Snake was just spooked by him on the inside there. I think it was more the latter than the former. And an unforced mistake there by Lennart Schnabel. You learn something new every day, don't you? And I'll tell you what, there was a few other incidents right behind them, and I'm sure we'll get to pick those up very shortly.
Ooh, I think that was Grant. That looked heavy.
It was a big thud, and I tell you what, look, he's Zemstra. He's catching right up onto the back of Grant now. And this is surely, well, I was going to say surely going to be a change of position, but Grant, it does not look comfortable at the wheel of his machine right now because it's looking a bit sloppy.
How's that car still running? I mean, I didn't get the physics. I mean, obviously, again, he's based like thousands of miles away. He may as well be on the moon, honestly, with where he's situated. He's so far away from the servers. as I think, well, there goes Wemster past Grant. Grant's not giving it this one up, but Wemster is past as he is gradually just knocking in each of those corners. That car's going to be about half the width if it continues, because he's just chiseling it in.
It's his tactics, Sam, because he'd be farther, he's got more room to play before he hits the wall.
Yeah.
Just absolutely go for it. Let's take a little look at a replay right now. So this is into turn 1 for the first time, and this is where it all kicks off.
Besman spinning around there. Oh, well, how did everyone avoid him? Great work, everyone, to avoid Besman, who's been in great form tonight. Really good pace in qualifying, so it's a shame that he's out of the race.
Well, we haven't really mentioned him too much. He's had a quiet evening, which is slightly two words you don't tend to have associated together with Long Beach. Quiet on Long Beach, but well, that's 3 words actually, because Long Beach is 2 words, but that's by the by.
Oh, Grant.
And he's going to lose the place, I think, here, Sam. So I think Gravland is going to get the run on him, and he's on the inside, and I get the feeling it's going to be a move into Toyota, possibly even before then. Up the inside is going to go Gravland.
Yeah, that was easy. He's got no straight line speed because of that broken front wing, so it's going to be a long A final here for Grant to stay in the top 10. We've got a replay of Sandstrom earlier on, so I think this was another one on lap 1. Oh, he lost it by himself. And then that was Grant getting past. Maybe that was where Grant got the damage. We did see him hit the wall earlier on, but he may have already had the damage before that. So I'm not entirely sure, but if Grant avoided contact there, that's a miracle.
I mean, you got to feel Sandstrom, too much care, bit overzealous with it, okay, half spin, but then just scrape the wall with the rear wing on the way back through, and that's why he's had to retire his car. Likewise, investment out too. I'm sorry, apologies, Sandstrom. He's managed to get back out.
Yeah, got the fast repair, so back out. So yeah, if you ever see a car smash into the wall audience, then that is why they can continue. As we see the 0 straight line speed of Grant, even in the tow, he can barely keep up with Gravland.
Let's take a look now, a replay as we're hopefully going to see what happened to Pop, and too much speed. Yeah, there we go, into Indy left. Around he went, lost control of the rear. That's all she wrote really for him, wasn't it, really? And it was a big chance for for Edouard Pop this evening. He was ahead of Griffin, could have taken control, or certainly really eaten into Griffin's lead in but instead, right now as he stands, looks like he's going to finish 15th, and bar a mistake from Griffin, who's looked pretty solid all night, Sam. I just don't see it happening, really.
No, this could be the crowning moment for Griffin, really. He will have one hand on the trophy, honestly, after this round. Charney has had decent pace himself, but had to go back to the pits earlier on, and I mean, in that B-farm, Griffin just had terrific pace, honestly. Yeah, Pop maybe could have been a rival for him tonight, but Griffin is the most secure set of hands in that A class, AM class. Apologies. This is a good train. Russell, who has got lots of cars behind him right here. Here comes Boberg for Cripps Racing. Russell much more confident on the brakes. So that's the advantage of being on the outside, to be fair there. You just feel like you can carry so much more speed than when you're on the inside. It's a scary corner anyway, but when you're giving up a few meters on the outside, it's even scarier. And this train goes back to Alistair Hay right now in 13th position. No one else is going to join that. I mean, Schnabel's half a minute behind these guys. And to be fair to Russell, his pace isn't too bad. I mean, he's about a few tenths of a second off the drivers ahead of him. He's only 2 tenths of a second slower than Kevin Swemstrom that last time round. It's just he's a little bit slower than all these cars behind him.
He is, isn't he? Everyone's going to feel like he's holding them up, but it's much easier to follow than it is to plough your own furrow. Wow, what a beautiful move there from Chuck Morrow as he lined Boberg up, gave him the fake. Boberg completely, just sell it to him. Boberg completely and utterly was just mesmerised.
Gravland and Grant. Sorry to interrupt him, but Gravland and Grant are side by side heading down into turn 1. at the moment. Grant, despite that damage, oh, there they are. Oh, was that contact down the straight there? He's trying to do it, is Grant, but that's not going to quite happen to him. That front wing is, he would be passed easy with Grant if it weren't for that front wing. Gravland holding on to P7.
Well, I would say, I'm not sure on that one, Sam, but Pelican Grant has been on fire this evening here at Long Beach. Really found his, his moment as a, well,
that's like the Suzuka S's right now. Mario is taking that.
It is. He's trying to shuffle Russell around as Hayes into the pit. Something's happened to him. I mean, he might make contact with the wall.
Did I miss where Russell got back past Mario? Because we saw Mario pull off that move, didn't we? Or was that someone else?
That was, they didn't actually quite get it done in the end, although he's given it a good go, isn't he? He's still ahead, and Maro locks up there. And he could even lose a place, potentially. That's Michael Griffin at the rear of this little train here. And I'll tell you what, Griffin, he's looking to pick up a place from Boberg, and that's going to make Chuck Maro incredibly happy right now.
Yeah, Griffin, there's so little incentive though for him to go for this move. It'd be 1 point, and he would just be pleased that he's getting so close to the AM title right now, the 386. I think he's going to play this one very cautious. We don't usually see Griffin as being the most aggressive driver, and I don't think that's going to change midway through this race. As to Hay with an issue, was this just on the previous lap? Yes, because you can see that the slalom up ahead, and then, ooh.
He had to check up, didn't he?
Yeah, and then I think, did Griffin make contact with him? I feel like there was a little bit of a hit, but Griffin's car looks all right. But yeah, he had to check up, you're absolutely right there, Tim. And lost the car. That is why Hay is down to 17th place now. He had to go back to the pits.
It does work because we've just had that one less car in that battle. Interesting one for you, Sam. Sector 3, last time around, I think that Schnabel is like the fastest Sector 3 of anyone. He's down at 13th, he's got nothing to play for, but he's still having fun out there. He's still having a real good go with it. I mean, he's 50 in class, but his closest pro driver is Remstra, all the way up in, what, 6th place. That's a big order to climb, and I just don't see him doing it. No disrespect to Lennart Schnabel, but 6.5 minutes left on the clock. That is ridiculous, and I don't see him doing it, Boston. Well, absolutely amazing miracle, like, I don't know, being, let's say, a NASCAR race at Martinsville and making it 5 places and making the transfer in the last 2 corners. Stranger things have happened. But Russell right now, he needs to dig deep with some sort of performance like we saw recently in NASCAR, and Maro is all over the back of him, and Russell, well, he's got a very long 6 minutes to try and hold on for this one.
So 327 just playing on the inside there was Charney. So no worries right there. But yeah, I don't think I've seen Maro drive this well all season. He's absolutely in full flow. He was so good, remember, in the B final, managing to take that race win, and he's just continued that form. And it's going to be a good run for him, if anything. Actually, glance into the pit. Well, that's not instant limit. That cannot be instant limit. You don't pick up instants here at Long Beach. That must be, as I think Grissetti's just made a mistake as well, or Grissetti's lost out to Zwemstra. That seemed to come out of nowhere. Yeah, Grissetti lost 1.7 seconds on that last lap. As Grissetti got damage, because he actually lost it midway around the lap and then proceeded to lose the position at turn 1, I think. He seems to be all right, does Grissetti, but that is Zwemstra up into 5th place. That is great news for Aaron Smith, who of course is going for the Pro-Am Championship.
Well, yeah, and Grissetti's been hot on his heels in the championship race. Yes, this is a great run last Nürburgring, and well, let's take a little look at that overtake between Zwemstra and Grissetti. Well, I think that's pretty much a standard overtake into turn 1 Toyota, Sam. Nothing really too exciting to report out there, although I'm sure Zwemstra's going to be very happy with that one.
And yeah, Maro up ahead of Russell in all that. They're back very close to one another. So who is that at the back?
Grant. It's Grant, isn't it? And then there's Michael Griffin there. So that is Grant right behind them, isn't it? Oh, no, no, it's not. Apologies, is it?
Oh, there goes... who was that? That was the quick racing driver of Boberg past Russell. Yep, so Russell, sort of the defence is ending now. Murray got past him, and now Boberg as well. So Russell drops down into P10 now in this race. And then Griffin will be the next one up, albeit has been very cautious. So yeah, then we've got the Alken Tech car of Sandstrom. There you go, that's what I was confused about earlier on. Sandstrom at the back of this one. I was thinking that's not Schnabel. Schnabel's not a full lap down. But yeah, Sandstrom with nothing to lose. Hopefully he won't unlap himself, but he has got the right to do so. But he's not really fighting for anything whilst these guys are.
He has some. He's got the chance as well. Arvidsson. Gosh, he pops in. The fastest lap of the race, 1:12.9. As you do, first driver in racing conditions into the 1:12s. He is flying and asserting his dominance on this championship even further. Not that he really needs to. His nearest championship rival, he's diving at the back of the field. He didn't even make the final here today. Then Olsen narrowly missing out in the consolation final. He missed the cut. Didn't make the draft. And Arvidsson just needs to close this one out as a victory. And as Sam said earlier, he's pretty much putting one hand on the championship title. Can he hold on? Well, he's been flawless all season, but this midfield battle is absolutely scintillating. As Russell, well, he's having to defend, and he's really, really in trouble here because that is Griffin, the AM driver, flying the flag for the AMs in 11th. He's at 5 places, not content with that. He wants to make it 6. He wants that 10th place off of Philip Russell. What do you call him? George Russell there.
Of course, George Russell is Philip Russell's brother, for those who don't know on the YouTube. So, yeah, of course, we'll be supporting him for the final few rounds of the championship. George is watching along to the stream, and Philip doing it'd be frustrating for Philip if he couldn't keep past behind Michael, because his defence so far in this race, Philip, has been absolutely brilliant. Kept behind Mario and Bobo for so many laps. It'd be frustrating if all 3 of them get past him, regardless of all that great defence. There goes Griffin to the outside. It's a bit of a nothing move there. Always get scared whenever tries to take that wide line, but I think there's a decent amount of security, to be fair. I don't think Griffin's going to go for this one unless it's really, really obvious for him. He
needs to be careful though, Sam, because look, that's Palakui Grant is... Well, it's not Palakui Grant.
No, that's Sandstrom.
It is, isn't it? Sorry, I keep saying that one. It's completely flooring me, to be fair. And there is Palakui Grant in a little bubble by himself. I mean, he's going to be good.
Is Schnabel going to catch
him?
Oh,
that's Russell. He just clipped the wall there on the exit in the corner, Sam.
It's another
as they came onto Seaside Way, he properly smacked the car with the 2 left side tyres. And that is not helping his cause whatsoever in trying to defend from Griffin. As white flag in the air. There is 1 lap left to go. Where has the time gone here in the final from Long Beach? Arvidsson leads from Martinson, Rasmussen, Smith, Zemstra, Grassetto, Gravland, Mauro, Boberg, Russell. Last place inside the top 10, but needs to hold on for 1 more lap to fend off the advances. A fellow countryman, Michael Griffin, right behind, trying everything he can to manoeuvre Russell into position to turn up the pressure to the absolute maximum, to squeeze and slide his way past. But it needs to sliver like a snake and manoeuvre Russell around and to keep him concentrating on his mirrors to make the move. But that is Arvidsson. That is the final corner, and this is your race winner here from Long Beach, Isaac Arvidsson of Sim Race Sweden. Asa Erkanter, Martinson comes home in second for a 1-2 for Sim Race Sweden Esports. Rasmussen picks up the last of the podium finishes, and 4th overall, it's Aaron Smith. He's on a flyer and a real charge at the moment. Zvencha 5th, Grassetto 2nd in AM, and Gravland is going to pick up that last podium spot in AM, 7th overall. There's Mauro, Bobo, but where is Russell? Where is Griffin? I hear you cry, but they're close, and Russell's hold on by 4 tenths of a second at the line.
Well, yeah, he kept one of them behind, but what a brilliant result for Michael Griffin there. Super result for him. Quite far clear now in the Amateur Championship ahead of the likes of Charney. Charney with 16th position in the end in that race, and I think finished lower down as well in his heat compared to Griffin. So Griffin's going to be a fair chunk ahead, I think, sort of 40, maybe even 50 points clear with 2 rounds to go, with a decent job score as well. I think he's the real winner out here tonight, but Arvidsson, he still needs to have a couple of decent rounds to finish out the season, but he's got control now. He can pretty much just finish runner-up to Olsen in both meetings remaining, and that would be enough for him to take the title.
So everybody's a winner. Well, at least Arvidsson is anyway, and I'll tell you what, I think we've had potentially 2 championships won here today. Certainly when we look back at the end of the season, I think we're going to see, this was the moment where Arvidsson and Griffin won their championships ultimately. But even so, Pro-Am between Smith and Grosseto, that's still fully up for grabs. We're going to head to a quick break. We will see you on the other side. We'll be back in the studio, myself and Sam. We'll go through the results and talk to some of our drivers and cover their thoughts. Hello and welcome back after Sam. You said, you've pretty much said every single week, at pretty much this point in the show, what an amazing race. It can't get better each week. Can't get better next week. I think we've probably seen the best. Every single week, it's not failed to deliver. It's got better and better and better. I don't think we've really had any different tonight. It's been status quo for this championship.
Yeah, it's been another fantastic round. I think the highlight for me, honestly, Tim, was that B final earlier on. It was absolutely terrific what we saw in that race. The top 4 being able to hold on to those positions. I think we've got a few highlights of the A final as well, with all the different changes that we had. The race start, of course, absolutely crucial for a few of the drivers, and they seem race Sweden guys. Wasn't a great start, I will say, for Arvidsson in race 1, was it? But besides that, they were perfect, and then the perfect blocking in there from the Alcantech attack from behind. Just great choreography from those guys. No batsing down to turn 1. Martinsson not fighting it too hard, and then, of course, we had those couple of issues further down in the pack.
We did, didn't we? And of course, it was this point as well, we lost Lennart Schnabel from the fight at the fountain. So we just see that run into turn one once again. This is where we're going to see Schnabel just get caught up and spooked on the outside. We got Smith up the inside. There you go, and around
I think
he
a little
went.
bit of netcode, I think, maybe involved in that one. Seemed to be mid-corner. Oh, and then actually pulled ahead a little bit, and that caught up. Was that Charney? I think that may be Charney. He got caught up.
So this is the on-board.
So this was Schnabel.
Yes.
No, it wasn't Schnabel, apologies. It was another one.
Sandstrom.
Sandstrom,
Yes, it's Sandstrom, that one.
Bad race for Tech, that one. They had 2 of their top 3 drivers out within half a lap.
You could say the same for Sim Race Sweden, obviously, with no Olsen into the final either. It was a real mix-up, as that was Edward Pop. Just too much speed there, I think, Sam, and just losing the rear end of the car. And, well, around here, it just ends with a one-way ticket at the barrier as, well, hey, making a bit of a connection with the barrier there on the exit of the corner. He was one driver who was really suffering and then almost got a bit spooked, and that's what just caused him to, retake the rear of the car, where he slammed on the anchors, the front dug in, and the rear obviously kept going round, and that was it.
Yeah, that was that was a great fight, though, wasn't it? Those 5 cars so close to one another. Philip Russell, most. I mean, I was saying that Boberg and Glamstedt are the most consistent drivers. Maybe Russell is the most consistent driver, honestly. He's absolute veteran of the series, and he was staying there ahead of those drivers, trying to keep as many of them behind. But in the end, the bridges opened, and there was Arvidsson, just so dominant, so dominant, and what a fantastic turn of form it has been for him recently. And we didn't really watch him today. It was just like, he's in the lead, he's a second ahead, there's no stopping him. There was never an element of doubt. Normally,
the good sign for a driver is how little they get featured in race coverage, because it shows that they're just having a flawless race at the front. And ideally, it's what they want as well, although I'm sure when we chat to him later, he probably will say maybe wasn't quite as calm as what we interpreted it from the commentary box as. Let's just take a look through your classified results here from the final. And Arvidsson, of course, taking that victory, as we saw the pictures of in the screen behind us just now, with Martinsen in second and Rasmussen rounding out your podium. 4th overall was your winner in Pro-Am, and that was Aaron Smith. He's on an absolute flyer at the moment, really hitting form and just the right moment of the season. Zomsha 5th, Grassetto, another driver hitting form at the right point of the season, as him and Smith. Wow, that's going to be a fight for the ages between those two. The next 2 rounds from Interlagos and Zolder, with Gravland, a bit disappointing from him earlier in the season, and I think he definitely would have been there even closer to Smith and Grassetto at this point in the season. Maro, he finished 8th with Boberg. Russell rounding out your top 10, only just holding off Griffin, the AM driver. He was on an absolute flyer to finish 11th overall. And then it was Schnabel, obviously caught up in that turn 2 incident at the fountain. Grant, he's going to be gutted. He was on absolute fire here today, but couldn't quite have it all come together where it counted in the final. He finishes 13th. Edward Pop, he's going to be gutted because he was ahead of Griffin at one point before that incident. We saw too much speed coming down Seaside Way off the corner. Round he went and into the barrier and had to hit the pits. Sandstrom, another one to find the wall. Charney, unlucky for him, finishing last car finishing 1 lap down. With Hay and Vestman, your 2 retirements. Wow, Sam. Well, should we have a bit of a chat to our race winner?
Yeah, let's go.
I think we should do. Now joined by Isaac Arvidsson. Isaac, first off, congratulations. We were just saying that it probably looked quite calm from inside, well, at least for us it did. Did it feel as calm for yourself inside the cockpit?
Fun question, actually. It's an interesting track. You can't really be calm on this track because then you're gonna lose it into the wall.
Well, that is very true. That is very true. It requires a lot of concentration, doesn't it? But I mean, I imagine you're going to feel a bit gutted for Tobias, obviously not making the final and a disappointing result for himself. But equally for your own championship aspirations, it couldn't have gone any better for you today with your closest rival not even making the final.
Of course, this was quite a disappointment that Tobias couldn't get to the final. He was so close in that B final. But yeah, I think Tobias should have had about the same pace as me, so it could have been an interesting fight. Yeah, for the championship, I just focus for every race, just keep it pushing. Hopefully, I can keep the match at home.
Well, potentially one hand almost on the championship. We head to Interlagos next time out. Very different track, a very different style. But how do you view it? Can you make it, another win on the bounce?
I'm gonna do my best.
Well,
Can't tell you right now, but hopefully.
We'll look forward to seeing definitely. Isaac, congratulations on the victory. That's Isaac Arvidsson, your winner here today from Long Beach. Wow. Interesting how he was saying that it wasn't really that comfortable because it's Long Beach and you have to 100% concentrate the whole time. I think probably wouldn't be able to renew that really, but it's always interesting to see. I think I'll let you have the honours of chatting to our winner in Pro-Am.
Yeah, so we just had a chat with our Pro winner. Let's have a chat with our Pro-Am winner. Aaron Smith is with us now. Aaron, another win in the Pro-Am category and another top 4 finish as well. These A finals are really coming together for you now.
Yeah, I've finally found a right rhythm for me that works. It's taken me way too long to find it. But nevertheless, it's been an absolutely amazing last few rounds. I mean, Nürburgring was an absolute dream. And tonight was, again, a pretty decent round. It was chaotic as hell. I don't know, everything that was going on behind me was just ridiculous. But yeah, I think what Isaac was saying, yeah, just this track it's so much different than any other track that you drive because you have to be concentrated all the time on everything that's going on. You cannot let your mind slip for 1 second, otherwise it's game over. And yeah, it's such a challenge, but I like the challenge, and I kept consistent out of the wall and got another top 4, so I'm happy.
Were there any corners during practice that you found a particularly big challenge around this circuit?
I think, yeah, there were a few. I mean, I didn't actually struggle on this track as much as I thought I would. I quite like the rhythm of it. It's actually quite forgiving sometimes. Like, you can hit the wall a few times, like graze it, and you won't get any damage. But yeah, I think more the middle sector was quite difficult, especially on the exit of, I think, turn 5. That if you get your throttle wrong, and that's game over. The wall will come at you, and you will die. And that's game over. I think we saw a few drivers do that today. I think Fabio also messed up at turn 7, which was crazy. I mean, it put a smile on my face, but oh yeah, this track is amazing.
Well, Aaron, congratulations. I mean, it's definitely a foot in the right direction in terms of championship hopefuls. Interlagos, another win potentially for yourself. Do you think you can match it?
100%. I think I'm on good form at the moment. My consistency is better than it ever has been, and I think Interlagos and Zolder will be even better rounds for me. I hope that maybe I can finish on the podium in both races. Right. Since this week it was a bit difficult to do officials, since I didn't want to risk any iRating or safety rating, but I can promise you that Interlagos and Zolder will be even better.
Oh, definitely. I'll be going to be interested to see. That's Aaron Smith, your winner in Pro-Am, and interesting what Aaron's had to say there. And well, I tell you what, it's been an absolute cracker here today, hasn't it, Sam? Final thoughts. What do we take home from today?
I think just the championship. I think it's totally transformed this round of the championship. Having Griffin have such a good round, having Arvidsson have such a good round, Smith extending his championship as well. It's an absolutely massive change for the rest of the season. And so with just 2 rounds to go, we have a good idea. Can there be any upsets? Could we see a late comeback from someone? That's what we need to find out at Interlagos and Zolder to round out the season.
Definitely. We'll be back in a week's time where we'll be live from Interlagos virtually. And of course, stay tuned, because coming up on the channel in about an hour's time is Formula Renault 3.5, and then into the early hours, it's the Apex Racing League GT Americas. Well, I'll be back in the commentary booth, but from the comfort of my own home for that one, for great action from both those rounds. And don't forget to check out the late Apex on Monday night, where myself and Sam be going through the week's sim racing news. But wow, what a race it has been here from California, Long Beach. And we knew there'd be excitement and drama, and we got it in absolute droves. But as we head south of the equator to South America, can we have some of that Brazilian flair come out? Make sure you join us here on Apex Racing TV for ARL F3 Super Series, live from Interlagos in a week's time. I've been Tim Cox with Sam Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much. Good night.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.